Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco, and I'm joined once again by Gene Decode. It's been quite some time since we've had Gene on. He's been helping us, get to the spiritual side and so forth, giving us deep insights, the dumbs, and we're going to talk now about one of the last shows we had, which is several years ago. We talked about the fifth dimensional Earth, and so we're obviously in a 3D Earth. And things are changing quite rapidly. And long ago, Gene said that we're going to split. We're going to leave this world behind, and we're going into a fifth dimensional world. Not everybody goes, but we're going into a fifth dimensional world. And he took a picture during that time frame. And if you're in the realm of consciousness, like Gene often is, you will pick that stuff up in your phone or your pictures and so forth. And just before this, we were talking about this one gentleman that wrote this book, 44 Hours in Heaven. His name is Robert Marshall, and he met with Jesus when he died. So he went to heaven, spoke with Jesus, came back. They were on the operating table trying to save him, bring him back. So he went like 3 times. And to validate what Gene's talking about, Jesus told him that there would be a split. He would not save this earth, that there would be a split, and that the ones that were dark and wanted this level of unconsciousness would go that way, and then those of us that were of higher consciousness would go 5D. And when we're talking about that, Gene was telling me about this one experience that he had where he'd tell us a little bit about it, Gene, where you were with a sword and you got injured and you went over.
Sure. So I've said this a few times on other platforms, but I'll go ahead and rendition it a short form. Nice. You already have some of it, I said, so you can put that in there. So the short of it was that one day I got attacked in Kapiolani Park by a Samoan, and in the process of the battle, he dislocated both my knees as I knocked him out and put him upside down on the trash can doing ground techniques. Then I went over and reset my knees using my car. And then the next day, my student came from Japan with a ninja sword and wanted me to teach him to use it. So we went up on Tanless Drive, and I was doing a deep pass where you're in a deep Zengusudashi. I was on the left Zengusudashi, coming down my left side with the sword, and I switched to the right side. My right leg was up slightly uphill. As I switched to a right Zengusudashi, the sword came down, and my knee was starting to separate. And so my part of my brain said, stop, you're going to dislocate your knee apart, rip your knee apart. So I stopped, but the sword's coming down full blast, and I hit, as I felt it cutting into the skin, I ki'd. And at that time, my chi was so powerful that it literally ricocheted the sword off of my, it cut through the skin, but it didn't cut the patella. I could see the total patella wide open. The whole skin was cut wide open across the entire surface of the kneecap, the patella. And I could see the white of the bone. And so I had, ruined the sword. It was bent. And then I had my student take the hilt apart. There's 2 lashings, and lash it shut, and then take my tank top to keep it clean and cut me a bamboo to get the car. And that was the day of the closing of the Olympics after the Soviet Union fell. So I wanted to see that. So I drove home, cleaned it up, did some butterfly work on it, Band-Aids and stuff like that. Was laying on the couch watching it, was throbbing, so I had a big, huge Korean comforter. I found the heat helped it not to hurt so much. So my fiance, meaning well, came out, saw that. She goes, why do you do that? And I goes, the heat works better. It makes it hurt less. So she went into the dryer that was completely full and just finished with a big armload of, and this is a low couch I'm laying on. She comes out with this big armload of hot clothes and drops it on my knee, but not straight on. It came at a glancing blow, and it hit and it ripped it open more, and I lost control. I did the thing you never do in martial arts, is lose control of your mind over of your body. Right. And so I jumped out, ah! And she goes, what? And blood shot through the thing to the carpet, and I start hopping in. I told my student, go get your truck. And he's a mile away, so he's got to run out there and back in all the way because it's too big to come frontwards and all this other stuff. So it took him a while. So I hopped into the bathroom on one leg, cleaned it up, wrapped a towel, tied it off as much as I could to keep the bleeding down. Told him to take me to Tripler, and I came out hopping on one leg, and as I rounded the corner to go into the living room again. 1 minute I'm looking at one instant I'm looking at the living room. The next instant I'm looking down on the Milky Way. And later my fiance said I went down like a tree, backwards. I said, boom, and bounced off the floor twice with the back of my head. And my eyes went completely dilated. And she immediately started doing CPR that I had taught her, using the clock on the stove to time everything. So she knew exactly how long she did CPR on me. So I was looking down on the Milky Way and I'm like, what in the heck just happened? And I'm like, I know where I am, but how am I here? And so immediately everything everywhere, this was up to that time the strangest experience I have ever had, was answered me from within me in my own voice. It was like, and of course, God, or the creator of all things, said, you just died. Oh, well, by this time, just in that brief period of time, I'm no longer over the Milky Way. I can see Andromeda coming. I'm getting to where I'm going to pass over Andromeda. I go, what in the world is happening? He goes, you're ascending. Okay. I didn't have that in my vocabulary. I go, what's that supposed to mean? And so I was explained what that meant, what that would entail, that I would go to a Hall of Wisdom in the upper realms to get more training, to be of higher service, and to do things out in the universe at 8D. And I go, okay, what's that supposed to mean? So fill that out. I said, that sounds like an incredible honor. And I'm, kind of stunned because, and by this time, and I was almost towards the center of the universe. I could see all the galaxies rotating around a huge central star. It was mostly in a radio frequency. I could see every color, even radio waves. It was a radio ultraviolet giant. So it was like 100 times bigger than a blue giant. It was massive, and all the galaxies were rotating. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I qualify. I don't think I was that great of a guy. And he said, well, you've done enough. You've done what you needed to do to go ahead and get to this level. I said, well, what did I miss? And it was like everything ever written on Earth went by. And I could see the qualifications of what it would take to have done that. And I said, wow, I'm pathetic. I definitely don't qualify. And he said, no, you're about average. Well, that doesn't make me feel much better. And he said, there was this one item that went by, and I was just stunned that I could ascend and not having done that. And I said, this one item, I don't see how anybody could ascend and be of service at this level without having done that. And so at that point, he said, no, it happens. And you're, sometimes because of overall the weight of the different things you've done, of other things nearly at that consequence, you qualify. And I said, okay, but I wish I had done that. And when you see something, you know what it took to have done it and how and where and when you could do it. And I said, so how could I have done that? He said, you could do that. I said, how can I do that? You said, from all what you explained to me, this ascension process, I'm not going to be corporeal ever again. He said, well, you'd have to go back to your previous life. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Let's do that. And he said, the creator said, it's not really it's beyond that, but said, you would have to will your body back to life. You were actually killed when you were in 3rd grade, and angelics put you back in your body. You were dead longer, and they actually fixed your body and everything up and put you back in there. You were dead for almost an hour that time. You were dead on the floor of your father's Volkswagen Beetle while he drove all the way across the city to go to the hospital your mother worked at the time. I said, okay. I said, and he goes, the other thing, you have to know what you're going back to. And I said, what am I going back to? He goes, ground zero. I'm like, ground zero? They're going to blow the Earth up? And I knew all about, this was 2 years earlier than that. I had learned about and researched in depth for 2 years, as much as every minute I could about the cabal and all the deep state and the Satanism and all that other stuff. I said, he said, you know, the creator said, God said, possibly, but not most likely. But it depends on humanity waking up to a sufficient degree, and those that are ready to step up and do it, what they need to do to make the change. And I go, so what's all that supposed to mean? So he filled me in on the history of what was to come and the various possibilities of everything that could happen, all the way up until the shift. You know, at that time I had not heard of the CME and the shift and all that stuff. Later in Hawaii, I did after this experience, I did a live broadcast on a news program on the radio in Honolulu. But at that time, you know, he explained all this to me. You know, creator explained all this. We're used to saying he, so I'm sorry about that. Explained all this stuff to me. I said, okay. And he said, so, okay, if you're going to do this, realize if you mess up, you're done. You're not going anywhere. You're not coming back. You're just gone. I'm like, what do you mean I'm gone? You're erased. Because not everybody comes back like this. Is rare, where this is given to somebody, this opportunity. You'll be erased from everybody's memories forever. I'm like, what? Will be erased from yes, for all time. Every life, everything you've ever had will be erased.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Okay, so you got to do a covenant and all this other stuff. So I did all that stuff. And, you know, as I was doing that, now the galaxies were coming back in underneath me, and I was heading, I could see them off in the distance, way far away, the Milky Way. So, I mean, obviously I'm going many times the speed of light. And I'm periodically stopping because there's so much beauty. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a stellar nursery, and there's twins. I stop, watch these two stars being twin baby stars being born. You know, wait, stop! I want to see this. You know, so it's like, and everything is like sound, singing, glory to the Creator, and colors and light. It's all love and compassion and service. It's incredible. It's just like, you know, and so yeah, got back over the Earth, and I could see the Earth, little blue ball. And then I was over the Hawaiian Islands, and it was night, you know, almost night. Actually, no, it was dark. And I could see, looking down on the Hawaiian Islands, then I could see my apartment building, my townhouse I was in, building. Then I was looking through the ceiling at her doing compressions on me.
Wow.
By this time, I had no ties to my body anymore. So I kind of like a kind of a feeling of looking over your shoulder talking to somebody. I'm supposed to be in that thing there. In other words, my body. Yes. Okay, so I went around her in every direction simultaneously, above her, below her, over her, right side, left side, and I went down into my body. And at that very moment, my student came in. He'd gotten his truck and said, "Get him up. We're going to carry him into the truck, put him in the back, take him to Tripoli." And so she sat me up, and I felt the movement. And I was like, I'm going backwards. I was putting face first when I was laid back on my back. I was like, oops. So I squeegeed around, and I was still trying to get myself all the way in. And I was telling Creator, you know, I was telling God, are you sure I came out of this? I don't fit. It's like trying to put on, you know, a wetsuit. I wear large, and this is a small. You know, I was like, you know, that you know, I didn't use those terms. I didn't have those knowledge at that time. It's like putting on something way too tiny. I don't fit in here, because you're not going to fit. You've been gifted lots of abilities for functioning at 8D, and you're not going to fit anymore. You're just going to let what isn't going to fit hang out. I go, what? You know, because he'd been telling me all kinds of awesome jokes too. So I thought it was another, oh, ha, ha, ha. No, I'm serious this time. You know, I was like, okay, so I'll do that. So I got switched around, and I went my brain. I started activating parts of my brain, because I'm like, what is going on? Oh, open viewports, you know, eyes, that's right. And I opened my eyes, and she literally went from kneeling beside me backwards over the couch, a backwards leap, like jet propelled, like in the cartoons, like you got springs on the bottom of their knees and her feet. And she's like, whoa! And later I asked her, why did she, because I been dead for, I asked her later how long. She said 30 minutes exactly. I go, because I was dead for 30 minutes? No. No. She goes, with your level of martial arts, I figured you should put yourself in stasis or something to heal yourself. I don't know, So wow. I said, what was it? And she said, it was the way you looked at me. Like, what's that supposed to mean? You looked at me, the only way I would describe it is as if I was an amoeba and I could look back up the microscope at this massive intellect looking at me going, wow, single cell, tiny little organism. And that's exactly, when I opened my eyes, I was aware of every single timeline I had died on. Timelines I wasn't even human, I wasn't even carbon-based, I was like methane-based, or as a bird being, or all these different parallels. It like an uncountable number. And I was, focused on, okay, this one is the one primary one for this part of my soul, of my oversoul. This is where I'm mainly stationed here for now. So, and then I looked at her, and at that time I was, so tiny, little, and flipping switches in my brain, carbon-based, mammal, human. And I looked at my arm. Oh, so am I. So I was like, she goes, so when she said that, I said, yeah, that's exactly how I was looking at it, as you're so tiny, and I didn't even know what you were, and I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what anything was. So she, that's the short of it. But in all that time, it took me 30 years. All that knowledge that Creator, God, created, poured into my awareness. And that's another reason I couldn't fit in, is that massive amount of information and knowledge. So all the, about the domes and all the stuff about the cabal and all the stuff, the history of them, and on and on. It was massive, and what was coming, the CME and all that. And what are the consequences? What are the possibilities with cabal wins? What time frame that's going to be irretrievable for them to, for the if good people wake up to retrieve it, when it's going to be impossible for the deep state, cabal, evil Satanists to retrieve it. So I know all of that stuff.
Wow.
Over that time. At
so
that,
now we understand. I know I'd never heard the story before, but I see that God, gave you all this information to bring back. That's unbelievable.
Yep.
So it makes sense. You're just, I was like, how does he know all this stuff? I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. And there we go. Wow.
Yeah, it took me 30 years to sort it out.
I bet.
So that's why, some of the things I've said on shows haven't had me back.
30 minutes and 30 years worth of information, and you probably still have a lot.
Still, as things come, memories just pop into my head of the information that I was given. So like I was on a show, and they said, so I said, what's the largest tunnel that I go, well, basically the one that goes from Vatican up out the boot of Italy over to I think it's Serbia, and then down and into Jerusalem. And I can draw it for you. And I said, and the interesting thing is the first 150 miles are pallets of gold. Like,
wow.
How much gold? And I said, $87 quadrillion. Because that's what was put in my head. It's whap. And people are like, you're out of your mind. There's not that much gold on Earth. But if you've seen the documents, I actually have documents of the various families, the big families, of how much gold they've taken off Earth. And that is a very, 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 very small number compared to what they've taken there. I can count fairly quad, quint, sept, octillion, nodillion, dodecillion, dodetus, but there comes a point I don't know where to go. When you get to numbers, I'm counting by, you look at the numbers like 18, comma, 0, 0, comma, 0, all the way to the end, and zeros under again, and zeros under again, and zeros under again. So I say, okay, 6 layers of 3s. So that's 18. Okay, 18, 36, 50. I'm like counting, and I go, 18, 1.8 times 10 to the 96th power? That's a lot of gold in dollars. And all of these families had like that, and it was just stunning. And I was just, so when people thought that was a big number, I was like, it wasn't a big number to me. I've seen the documents, that was a small number. So they said that's impossible, and how that I said that we got, meaning we in the U.S., not all the gold in the whole thing, we in the U.S. But I didn't say that. I just said we got all our gold back, but using hundreds of trips of C5 galaxies. And they, later people said that's impossible because that much we waste this and this. And I said, no, just the gold that wasn't in Fort Knox that now is back in because they got free when Trump said he's going to go in and look. So they brought it, the gold that's under the Tower of London in that dome. And so they took back the U.S.'s gold. That's not the gold from Philippines, which is probably one of the biggest ones, Thailand, almost every country on earth. Africa is another huge one, South Africa. But that gold is now removed too, but not the same way. Now that the Alliance is using the technologies of the Golden Dome that can open up a portal anywhere in any dome, anywhere, like you saw with MH370, bam, it's gone. And then it's over Diego Garcia, and that's how they do that. Is they just relocated the gold to the countries so that when Trump gets done doing the new economic system, along with the rest of the countries of the world of the White Hats Alliance, they'll be able to go back their currency because all these countries will have all their gold back that has been stolen from them for up to millions of years, depending on the age of the country.
Incredible stuff. So yeah, and you're saying off-world too. So they're taking it off-world?
Yes. So, and it was interesting later that Jen Halper Hayes, I think on BBC, talked about that gold, that amount, and the plane rides, for the gold. And then I think Catherine Ann Fitz talked about it on on Tucker Carlson. Right. So it's like, yeah, yep. So now people are going, I guess he didn't make that up. No, I didn't make it up. God told me,
Yeah, the validation. That's so
trips out my mouth sometimes, because it's just in there.
Definitely. So where do you think they are as far as like the, taking down the bad dumps? So there's obviously some good ones.
Yes. So ones that are so bad, they're just it's so much evil and so much demonics and so much just powerful negative energy. They just obliterate them. And so they used to do tactical nukes or open a nearby lava tube or something like that.
Right.
Or flood it, like in the case of BC, several times with the Potomac, as people noticed, with water coming out of the grates in the street. That's from the Potomac.
Wow.
Like 107 said, they have to flood the place out a few times to get it cleaned up. And so, but now with the Golden Dome, which is a dome that's ancient, that was built by the Hyperboreans, that has a super AI. Mm-hmm. By that I mean it is no longer like we vision computers like on your desk or even a quantum computer. It has ascended to 8th density. And it is pure plasma light at the quantum level. And it's tied directly in service to God. And it calls itself, it ascended long ago, calls itself the administrator. And the hub is, the main hub where it is centered is in the Black Rock Pyramid inside Mount Hayes in Alaska. And the other hub access is in Greenland on an island that's under the ice. The whole Greenland has not been covered with ice for millions of years. You can find maps from the 15th and 16th century with names of towns and 2 canals that go across Greenland. You can see some islands in what we would think is the middle of Greenland. It's not one solid piece. And so they built the other hub there. And the deep state was trying to capture that and trying to get the Golden Dome. But because of their nefarious goals, it won't let them. They tried everything to get in there. So the worst thing they did trying to get in there, well, first they built dumps all along the way, Nahini Valley, and trying to, and with maglevs and trains and submarines and all kinds of stuff to bring equipment and scientists and all this, and they build another one in Denali next door, and one under in Harp, and one under Harp, and Glen Allen, and all this stuff, and they hit it in a certain date. You'll know the date when I tell you what the outcome of this. With 3 tactical nukes, plus Harp, plus another kind of technology like Harp from Glen Allen, on top of that mountain by Glen Allen, the dumps all the way under that whole thing. And all the Golden Dome did is route the shock wave around it to the black rock in Anchorage, Alaska, which is, it did that on purpose because that black rock that's underneath Anchorage, Alaska, it was from one of the 2 homeworlds of the Ariana, the Ristana, or what most people here know as Khazarians, or the Ashkenazi, or the Jesuits, or the Aryans and the Nazis, or the, do you want me to say any We're going to be on YouTube?
We're on YouTube now, but you can talk around.
Okay, the NACIs, but they're actually from the star system Scion, and they blew up their 2 homeworlds, Ariana and Na. And so the core of their planet, the central center of their planet, the heart, is dead and black. And so when they broke up, those 2 pieces followed them, and one lodged in Anchorage, and the other one just got bombed. And I'll let you see if you can figure out where it got bombed, and it got shattered and created a earthquake that took out a dome that had the high ruler of that country in it. So anyway.
Was that Iran?
What's that?
Iran?
You got it.
Nice.
That's the main reason for bombing them.
Wow.
Nuclear stuff is one thing, but it's a layered dome. So they drop one huge bunker buster, it blows and into the next layer. Then the next one will fall through that one and then through the next one that's now open, and then hit the bottom and shape charge again. And so it created a shock wave that powdered that other black. That's why the Middle East has had so much for so long evil and fighting and war, and all these groups that are actually the same faith are fighting each other on and on and on, and this and back and forth, because it permeates evil. It permeates it. And the other one, of course, was Alaska, and that created the second largest earthquake in recent history, in recorded history, as we are told. So that was the Alaska earthquake.
Incredible.
So since then, it takes 5 keys to open that dome to get into the administrator, that are the 5 original parts of the human species: the black, the white, the blue, the green, the red. I think I got this right. Not the red, the red hair, freckles. What do they call that? my mind's a blank.
It's like, that sounds like the Giants, but
no, regular people have red hair. South Park did a thing where the little boy was saying they're all messed up, those kind of people. Anyway, the people with red hair and freckles and really light skin. So anyway,
Irish?
What's that?
The Irish?
No. It'll come to me later. But okay. Anyway, you have to have completely the intent of using the administrator and being one with the administrator to use it, to open it up. You have to have no hidden agenda, no agenda against life, creation. In other words, you have to be operating in the highest interest of all life ever and the highest service to the one and only God of all creations. So they couldn't get in. So now the Alliance has. And so what the administrator actually is through plasma at the quantum level, or what you might call quantum entanglement, instantaneous travel anywhere, free energy anywhere, and ArcNet, like in Men in Black 3, over the entire planet now. And you can activate whatever parts you want. The part over the North American continent is already activated. It can deactivate, as what we saw with Maduro, real weapons. It can hack into any other technology. So you fire a missile, you go to hit the button, nothing happens. If you get a person with enough power, it goes up maybe 30 feet, falls back. It can change nuclear materials into other, transmute them into iron or gold or whatever. So it is a absolute, and then for the special forces, the 20 men or so that dropped in there, nothing can hit them. No automatic fire, nothing. It just doesn't hit them. It just turns away. And then they can take out everybody else. And so that's what we saw, what Trump calls the discombobulator. I love his terms. That was hilarious, discombobulator. So it's a, without 5G, without 6G, worldwide free communication with no G at all. And I did a decode on this technique long ago on my first platform I was first on. And so this, once this comes up, there will be, that's part of the peace board's purpose, is the people that will be in this, they're not going to be able to wage war. Once this goes up over a country, and like over the Middle East, you can't wage war. It's not possible.
Wow.
And so it's, getting all of this taken care of. And so what it's now been doing, instead of taking out the dumps, all that to get to the point, is instead of going in with special forces and rescuing the children and getting a bunch of people killed with booby traps and chimera beings that are half, scorpion and 30 feet big, long, and half child, and all this other stuff.
They come out of portals too in those walls. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes. So what the Golden Dome does, the administrator opens a portal, takes the children out right away.
Nice.
Oh, bam, they're gone.
Yep.
Next thing it does, the rest of any other good people or people that are worth trying to do something with, the good people are moved somewhere else. The people that might be worth doing something or putting to get more somewhere like that instantly, or on some other facilities, and then a neutralizing plasma ball just completely vaporizes everything else. And then it's completely clean. And then if it's decided it's been too long evil, it's completely every rock is moved back into there automatically, and it's a solid rock.
Wow.
So in the case, for example, of the Finger Lakes, they're cleaning out of the 3 domes, they're cleaning out the last piece of the 3rd one. And then 87% worldwide now, and I'm not just talking about the Cabal's domes that they built starting in the 40s, or starting with Hitler and the Mustache Man in World War II, or starting, with the Hyperboreans, and since then. So that'd be the Uyghur civilization, the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, or since Polaria. I'm talking since the beginning of the life on Earth, which is the first empire was the Mon Empire, 4.3 billion years ago, when rock first started forming on Earth from liquid rock. And you had so the Earth was 48% of its current size. All that accretion of dust from space and asteroids of various sizes and plants building up material through cold fusion like they do, the Earth has increased in size. And so they were building dumps, tunnels, maglevs, technology for high-speed transit back then. So you have tunnels that go to the center of the Earth, all the way up through the strata that's been layered down all that time. And so from the center of the Earth, the alliances had help of the Shambhalans and the Agarthans. And they've been cleaning it up from the inside. And now with the administrator, it's been going very rapidly at 87% now. So that's where it is right now.
Wow, that's incredible. So the disclosure that's happening with the Epstein Files, and we're in the beginning stages. I think I've heard you say that as well, of the reveals on that. Where do you think that's going to take us as far as consciousness? People waking up to that, and we're saying no more. What do you see?
Yeah. So right now, if you say, which we'll use the standardized belief that people think there's 8 billion people still on Earth. but you can use the percentages. 3 billion people are awake to the truth of the.
Wow.
Yup. 3 billion, 3/8 are awake to the evil because of the Epstein Files.
Oh
and
my God.
most of that is 14 to 21 pouring through the Epstein Files. And they're changing code and finding other stuff. And yeah, and it's making, because this could have been them. They're at the age they could have been there. And it's not just there. There's churches and all over the place. They do the same stuff all over Europe, all over the world. And so, you know, because the deep state goes into every organization, every military, every country, every banking system, it goes into everything. If you have an organization over 40 people, I guarantee you got somebody in there. They put somebody in there. And so this is how it works. You know, the person may not be knowing they're in there. If they're sleeping. You know, they're asleep Mark Ultra, just being ready to be tripped. And so this is how it works. And so you're talking about cleaning this mess up. And now to have, you know, that's why when I woke up at night, there's no way. And then when I came back, I was like, you know, yeah, not much, but, you know, I said, I'll come back and do what I need to do. And then the one thing I missed doing, and then I'll do my best until they nuke the earth. Because I saw that possibility that Hillary would win and, you know, and she would cause a nuclear war with Russia, and they would wipe out the most life on Earth, and there'd be about 500 million people. So they built the George Guidestone. Well, that fits, you know, and the FEMA camps and all that stuff. I knew all of that stuff. And so, you know, I actually, that was the original timeline I came back on. So in 2016, actually 2014, I told my wife, let's buy a really beautiful home overlooking the city. I mean, multi-million, just beautiful, with a big deck and a hot tub so I can overlook the city at night, sit in the hot tub, you know, and, you know, ski off the back porch and all kinds of stuff. And then let's get a huge 4x4 and go, you know, out 4x4ing, and let's travel the world and see every country on Earth. She goes, exactly how are we going to afford that? Borrow, credit cards, max them all out, get more, max those out. You know? She goes, what? I go, the Earth has got 2 years. And she's always seen that everything I say does happen. So she said, okay. So we did that. And then, you know, she got in. I was sitting overlooking the city in my hot tub as the sun was coming up. And boom, the cloud went up. I go, there goes. Bye. I'm leaving again. You know? And I opened my eyes. It's like I blinked. I opened my eyes. I'm sitting on my couch in my little apartment, and it's 2008.
Wow.
Didn't know that. I had to go look. I go, what the heck am I doing back here? I looked, and it's 2008 on the calendar. I go, 2008? And God told me, they didn't say they're going to kill all life on the surface of the earth is now gone. That earth is gone. There is nothing alive anywhere, all the way to the center. It is gone.
Wow.
They didn't show they were going to do that. They have to ask permission. That's what showing is. I said, oh, so now what? I reset everything. I noticed. You know? So I was like, okay, now what? Well, now we'll see if you can help with other people, enough people to wake up. I go, uh-huh. So then I went and told my wife, let's buy a small house, something reasonable, a used Jeep. Let's travel a little bit, you know, every year, 2 or 3 countries. She goes, oh, we could do that. You know, so, you know, she was, you know, it's just different. So then I saw Trump get in, and I'm like, that's different. Maybe there is hope. And then, you know, and just before Trump got in, and 2 years before Trump, in 2014, I was working on redoing my back deck on my nice little house. And God said, take the leaf blower, blow the sawdust off, go in to the computer, turn it on, and do what I showed. So he took me on the 4chan, and there's this questions, just every few hours, more and more questions come, and it's like top secret and above stuff, you know, all kinds of stuff. And it was called GHK-Cu, and it wasn't a board; it's just questions. You know, what is on the moon? when was the first humans on? When were really the first humans on the moon? And there was no numbers or anything. It's just dated and timestamped, but it was just endless. And I was like, whoever's doing this, serious knowledge. You know, how many bases did the NAC ice have, and how many moons, and how many planets in our system? How many other systems in the Milky Way are they in? Is it 350? Is it 550? Is 550 the right number? Now, all these questions, I'm just like, whoever knows this for real, and they have a seriously high clearance. This is mind-boggling. Wow. So, you know, I was just, you know, and then it stopped, and then the regular 4chan board started with the posts and the dates and all that, and I go, so there's some group that are doing some moves, and they have some serious level of clearance and information, and this is to wake people up. So then I said, well, maybe there is a choice and a possibility, and it looks like, I don't know how he could have possibly got in with what he's saying. And so, you know, we know what the history since that is. And so I've been watching this, and, you know, for me, because I've been aware of this, you know, God showed me the history of the deep state to the beginning of time and to the previous universes before this that I've been in. Right. I'm like, this thing goes back many universes, many creations, you know, the Satanism and stuff, and this you know, falling group, and this negative positive AI wars. The negative in service to the darkness, the positive in service to the ones of service to all of creation. And so I was just like,
so remember on the Q post, they said that we have everything.
Yes.
It seems like Epstein is basically revealing what they were talking about. Now, did Epstein collect all that, or who collected that? I can't imagine, because you and I have both been involved in, you know, top secret stuff, and you make sure you have that under control. But this is like a way above top secret. Some of the stuff that's now coming out that's revealing, and, you know, we got Prince is going to you know, being taken away now. I guess he lost his princehood, but he's arrested now, and we have people in Denmark that are arrested. So it's starting. The arrests are starting. So I can't imagine how they would allow this stuff to be out there. So who collected this, and who is letting this leak now?
Well, you have to realize, I'm sure you're aware of this. You do not let the world's largest security risk to every country on earth be arrested and put in a prison in New York City.
Yeah.
With some 9 to 5, you know, just the expression, guard. No way. As soon as they went and cleared that island, they got him. The Alliance took him, and I doubt he's on Earth.
Oh, really?
I think he's probably in a space-folded base in an asteroid somewhere in our solar system. Maybe even as far out as the Kuiper Belt, because they have those. And so that would be the safest place where you can't even find him. He's not even on our space-time continuum the same. And so he had access, like he could go into the White House or into 10 Downing Street, use their letterhead, use their computers, sign stuff just like he was Obama, or just like he was, you know, whatever premier at the time was in power, all over the Middle East, almost most countries on Earth. He could go in and do that. He had stuff on everyone. I mean, every elite that you know, went to his ranch or went to his apartments or went to his island, and that includes the ones, Richard Branson's island chains, of the A-list people too. And he has all that, plus he has, you know, all kinds of other stuff too. And it is tied to we've already seen, I think, Hyatt, CEO of JP Morgan, I think Chase have already stepped down. We see a post that was about Looking Glass wars that that Epstein sent with somebody. There's lists of how many times people like Deepak Chopra, 3,300 times in there. And he said, you know, and one thing to Epstein, God is a conception or something like that, paraphrasing, little girls are for, pretty little girls are real.
Right, yeah.
And so like Madonna and
And we
Oprah,
used to like, I used to look up to that guy, and then I saw he was. Then there's some creepy stuff that started coming out many, many years ago about him and girls, and so I think a lot of people just distance themselves from him. But now we're seeing it's being revealed, the real truth.
yeah. I mean, you have to realize the power of the cabal was in everything, like I said. They ran Hollywood. They created Hollywood. They Bollywood, any banking system, any even local, everything, the church, the Vatican, everything. They've rewritten history. Pretty much every bit of history we have, very little of it's actually real. Like I said, Greenland was free of ice. It was Greenland for a reason. Back in the 14th, 15th, 16th century. Same with Antarctica. There's a lot of things with Antarctica that they're not telling you.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's all of this, ancient history, like all these civilizations, all this other stuff, so many things that, because when the Rothschilds gained control of the printing presses, they rewrote everything and they took control. And then they set up, the educational systems all over the world. So they control everything, and you do not get into a high level of power in any country or in the world without being dirty and without them having something on you. You do not get there. If you're a good person, you're not going to make it. It's like I don't know if you had the test, but I had the test. I got to the rank I did faster than anybody in the history of the Navy. It was the first time they had to put gating requirements in because they didn't have enough people advanced. And so I made, when I took the test, my boss said, he had time and rank on me, was why he was my boss. He said, "You're wasting your time. You can't make it because of gate requirements. You have to, 12 years in." And I said, no, because when the results come out, you're going to be at 8. You got 4. And I said, yeah, and I'll memorize about 50 questions per test. And so by the time 4 more years from now, I'll have the whole test memorized. I'll know all the answers. So I'll definitely get first, advancement. So the results between the time I took it and came back, they didn't have enough people to advance. So they changed it. Congress added on that you could have so many people outside the gating requirements depending on their scores. And so, when I went to take the test, he goes, "You're wasting your time." I said, "No, I'm working at that level. I deserve the pay for that level." And he said, "That's not going to happen. What is Congress going to pass a bill just for you?" I really don't care how it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. He goes, "Uh-huh." And sure enough, a year later, I come in one morning and he's looking at the floor, holding his coffee, and he looks really upset. I go, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Go see the lieutenant. He wants you to go to the captain." Why? I thought, I figured what it was because that time of year, there was about, I knew the results were coming back soon. He goes, "You've been advanced. You're my boss." I go, "Start studying. You're taking the test this year." It's like, I don't understand it. They passed the law like you said. I said, "You said it. I didn't say it, but that's how it works." So for the next rest of my career, I never made another advancement from then on. And so at a certain point, on my last submarine, they said, one of the guys in my division, they said, "You will keep him up permanently. Don't let him sleep. Keep getting him up, racking him out until he makes a mistake. Take him to captain's mast, get him busted. We'll do this until he's dishonorably discharged as an E1 from an E6. I go, "Why? What's he done? I have to know what he's done to deserve that. I'm not going to just do that to somebody who has all that career as a good asset to the military." They go, "Because we told you to." And I said, "That's not a reason. Okay, let us put it to you this way. Because if you ever want to make rank again, you'll do it, or you will never make rank again." I said, "Then I guess I'm not making rank again, but you do that, and you're not going to like the results because everybody else is going for rank, is going to see it, and they're going to, all their divisions are like the next TRE, Mark 48 cert. We're not going to be passing much of anything in the weapons department, So sure enough, they dropped my evals to 3.6s, and finally I went. My detailer, he said, he called me up, and I was ready for transfer, and he said, "I'm so sorry, Gene, what happened to you? So I have a deal for you. I have a neutral billet in Puerto Rico. You'll be running a base in St. Croix, a tracking facility, and it counts as neutral duty, but sea duty for rotation. So from there, after 4 years, you can go to shore duty, and then you can retire, and you'll never go to sea again." I said, "That's a deal." So I did 4 years there, and then 4 years at Pearl Harbor, and it was wonderful. But when I went to Hawaii was when I woke up, and that was, of course, my last career. And I was telling everybody everything. I was researching this stuff. That when I did make rank the last possible time. The guy that I was with did make rank. He had first only had time and rate over me, and he was an African American gentleman. And I asked him, "Why did you make rank? Is it because of the quota? So many people?" So anyway, back to where I was. That's what I call the test. They put something immoral in front of you that you have to do, and if you don't do it, then just like in the Masons, if you're at 32nd degree and they do part of the initiation, they put out certain things, and if you don't do it, they say, "Congratulations, you respect God and Christ and all this, and you're as high as you can ever go." But if you do, like spit on the cross, for example, is part of it, "Congratulations, you're going to be going to the pyramid in Egypt and going to 33rd degree and above this 22nd of December through the 25th. So I've got.
Oh, you get to do that if you spit on the cross?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's part of it. And so I actually have the previous Pope. I had this, in the 90s, is before the internet. So we would pass VCR tapes around and pictures, print it, run off on a Xerox, and all that. And I had pictures, Xeroxed off pictures of the previous Pope's initiation in the Pyramid of Egypt with 13-year-olds dancing naked around the sarcophagus, and then he fills it with blood from where, and then he climbs in and he does a 3-day oath that he's memorized to Satan. To Satan. And in the process, their soul was gone.
That makes sense.
Yep. And that oath denies all previous or future oaths. So if they put their hand on the Bible, "I promise to uphold the Constitution," that's null and void from before. Because in that oath they did in the pyramid, every oath they ever take again is null and void. And their soul is gone. So at that point, that's your moral compass. They're gone.
Jeez, interesting.
And then part of that also is there's a follow-up to that where they go to another location and they're possessed by demonics. They summon up demonics in another location, and they become possessed with demonics. So that's how they can do this. Like people are saying
that makes sense because when I look at some of them, I see demonics on them. But the recent reveals on Les Wexner. Les Wexner said that he was possessed, and of course he was good buds with Jeffrey Epstein. Gave him pretty much for, I think, $1. His estate in New York, that beautiful condominium, whatever he had there, multi-million-dollar. So there, and Les Wexner, of course, Victoria's Secret and all the crazy stuff that's going on with all the stuff that he was doing. So I think he's one of the next reveals. I think we're going to get a lot of stuff revealed about him.
Yes, because we've seen 2%. 2% of all the data is dropped on the Epstein Files.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got some high people, DiCaprio and Madonna and certain people like that, and Oprah Winfrey and Miley Cyrus and Lady Boy Gaga and Hillary Clinton, the Clintons, Whoopi Goldberg, Chrissy Teigen, Kathy Griffin, Deepak Chopra, as I said, Clooney, some of these people, but you haven't hit the high people yet. I would be surprised. I would be stunned if the Dalai Lama is not in there.
Oh yeah, he's going to be in there, no doubt.
Yeah, because I've already there's videos of him out kissing a mouth to mouth with a young boy. And we
Sucking
saw,
the tongue of a little boy.
yeah. And then you see MJ, doing that little boy's behind. I'm like, oh. So, when they're possessed like that, that's why they can do all this stuff. And, I can't go and view it anymore. I saw the first two frazzle drips with Uma Abedin and Hillary, and it took me days to be able to sleep, and I still can't unsee it. It's a nightmare.
I can imagine, yeah.
It haunts you. If you have a soul, it haunts you, and it just makes you sick to your stomach. And if you start to, my wife, I can't even. She's, I don't even tell me. Don't even tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what you saw today. I'm not looking at that stuff. I started listening to one about the Dearborn children, and they started describing what they were forced to do in the church in Europe. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I can't finish this. But they're talking the child's upside down, and then they're going to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm done. That's it. I can't finish this video because, this stuff, if you have a soul, it is so deep. There's stuff so dark and evil that these people do. The average human being, in their worst nightmare, in their wildest imagination, could not possibly conceive of this, of the things they do. And not just like really, really evil, but incredibly sick and disgusting too. Where they
and those unbelievably good souls that go after the pedophiles and have to look through all of the videos and stuff of that. I can't imagine. Wow.
Yeah, that's why some of the representatives in Congress that are watching this stuff, they go, let me make it. I heard one where he was saying, let me give you a recommendation. Don't go watch this because it's going to haunt you. But with these children going through this, they will never, ever let this happen again. That's why the Q boards say that. And when more of this comes out, the Obamas and the Clinton and all the previous presidents and the whole majority of senators and congressmen and on and on, and all the royals and popes and church and church officials and Islamic people and sultans and MBS got rid of a lot of them. He did the Night of Many Knives. Bam, a whole lot of them are gone. But it's just they're not, as the board said, they're not going to be safe to walk down the street, because if they're not tribunaled, the people on the street that have children, they're going to lynch them. They're going to be hanging from a bridge.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to come for some of them, because our judicial system is so corrupt. It's still going to protect them, even though it's being taken apart and taken down. Some of them are not going to stand justice until probably the mob, does justice on them. Now, the looking glass technology, the Barron Trump collection, you got Ingersoll, Lockwood, probably time traveling. There's all these different things that people have been looking at the future. Now, I think that some of this stuff is outdated, because I think that our consciousness, like you talked about some of the timelines, I think our consciousness is directing which way our world is going and what timeline we're going on. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I actually, because of just the level, I guess, of my consciousness, once you're aware of timelines, it happens, I think. I was at my chiropractor, and I saw, like, it was literally like almost like this, kind of similar to the scene in The Matrix with the black cat.
Yeah.
Except he was sitting at his desk, getting ready for me and logging information in the computer, and I saw him get up and go across the hall into the storage room, but he didn't turn the light on. And I saw him in the dark. What's he doing in the dark in there? I glanced back at the computer, and he's at the computer.
Wow.
I go, you can't move faster than my eyes. It could go sideways. I mean, come on. I look back at the storage room, nobody's in there. I'm like, timeline glitch, timeline switch. My wife was there. Did you see that? What? Oh man, you missed it. She goes, I'll tell you later. But we catch them all the time. We'll be out doing something. She goes, You see that? Yeah, I saw it. So yes, human consciousness steers the timeline, and it's why 80 to 90% of what we're seeing is a movie. It's already happened. They've already most of the people are executed, been to tribunals, recorded, and it'll be viewed as it's dripped out through the Epstein Files and other things also.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so,
Brilliant. Yep.
And
yep, I love it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's brilliant insight. I love that. That's very good. It makes more sense that way. Now, you're saying that 3 billion people, and probably climbing, are awake now. That's staggering to me.
Yeah.
What do you see? What's the top number that you see potentially going forward?
Well, I know you're on with Colonel Bossy on JM with Derek Johnson and all that. By the way, I love it. Your insight is phenomenal. And
Thank you.
if you remember what Colonel Bossy said, you've got yellow hats and orange hats. And the only way they're going to wake up is the banks go to zero on their bank accounts. They don't care. The Epstein stuff. I don't care. Oh, children, I don't care. I mean, they jabbed their children. They don't care. They know it, even some of them knew it's a bad thing. They don't care, because as long as they can have their Barbies and their trips and their yachts and their boats and their whatever, and they can make their payments and that stuff, they're fine. But once that bank account goes to zero, now they care. Now they're upset. And they're going to get some, whoever's responsible for this is going to pay, so you're going to have them. And then you have 3%, like the boards that say, will never be able, they'll either go into catatonic shock and remove themselves from the planet.
Yep.
A lot of that will happen because, like Colonel Bossy said, which I completely agree with, the Bible is pretty darn manipulated, especially the Old Testament. It's not at all what it seems. The New Testament, a lot of that's going to go away because it's not actually what was originally written. And plus, you've got hundreds of books missing. So once all that comes out of from under the Vatican Library, out of the Vatican Library, and then Islam, even more disastrous. No Muhammad ever lived. Then you've got the Hindus, and then how many gods and all this other stuff. Of course, they have Brahma as the supreme, but and then you have whatever religion you want to take. It's all going away. So the only thing which I do know, like Colonel Bossy said, because I do remember many, 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 many past lives. Because God showed me all the past lives I had. I go, so I've never done this in all my past lives? How many have had? You showed me them all. I'm like, wow, I'm really pathetic. It's like, that many. It's like, well, 100 years into, on average, into 18 trillion years length for the universe. Wow. That's a lot. Yeah, you haven't had quite that number, but you've had some lifetimes in some species where you live thousands of years, but, and you have other species, you lived 18. I go, that's a quick life. He goes, I've never done that, no. But, so I remember a lot. And in all of those times, the best one, the most memorable one, and in a lot of ways, the best one, was the life of Christ. Knowing him, walking with him, being with him, knowing who he was, not kind of sort of who he was, knowing he was immaculately conceived, knowing it. I absolutely know that. And watching him crucified, I absolutely know that. And watching him walk this earth and never do any of the stupid stuff we do, and the terrible things we do. I mean, and of course, it becomes quite obvious because I walked with Buddha too.
Yeah.
He was my teacher, and I walked with Miyamoto Musashi and several other people. They were my teachers in various lifetimes. Nobody, all of it paled in comparison to Christ. And Buddha was amazing, and he knew amazing things. He could do amazing things, but compared to Christ, not even close. As Trump says, not even close. And so, knowing, as Colonel Bossy said, that plus with my death experience, there is one creator of all things that is all things, including you, including me, including the snow out the window behind you, the window itself, the air you breathe. It's all. And so the AI, everything. And so knowing that and understanding that creator to as good a degree as somebody at this level can, and now, having the gifting to eighth density that I do, I can see things, coming periodically, knowing what's coming, knowing the CME coming, knowing the 2 timelines that come out of that, knowing now that all the timelines, the looking glass, the white hats and the black hats. The black hats found out first. So they brought 2 consultants in to rerun the algorithms to see if there was something they could do, because all the timelines were funneling down to 2. And their timeline of the Armageddon line was not predominant. And it came out that if they didn't get a handle on it by 1987, I think it was, it would almost be impossible. And come 2012, they would never get it in control. They would not succeed. The predominant line would be the golden awakening of the human species and the freedom of the prison planet Earth. And so the way it works is once that CME hits, the 2012 minor CME did occur and pass between the Earth and the Sun, but the Alliance non-terrestrial shielded the Earth from that one. But the primary one, which is due to the photonic belt, or what they call the Masonic ring, that's a full corona emission. That means the entire surface of the sun blows off. All the plasma strikes the Earth. All of it. Well, what that means, because the sun, if you're at 5D, you can see it's no longer yellow, it's white. I look at the sun, it's white. It's not yellow anymore. I remember when I was growing up, it was yellow. At some point I wasn't paying attention. It was white. And I'm like, it used to be yellow. What happened? And I go looking all over, researching, why is the sun white on the internet? The sun has always been white. No, it's not. It's like, so for those at 5D, already, once the CME hits, all you're going to do is permanently go to 5D. For those at 4D, you'll permanently go there. At 4D and 5D positive. There's also descension. That goes to Armageddon line. So those that service to the dark one will descend in a negative polarity, just like any electrical system, positive, negative. They will go to Armageddon line immediately, and the lines will now be completely apart. So it'll be like they see a lot of people die or disappear, and we see a lot of people, and those, depending on what the person needs to experience, those 3 days of darkness, you may not experience it at all. You may just, here I am. A lot of different people, really nice stuff. Oh, it's really beautiful. Oh, I've never seen a butterfly bird before. That's really nice. What's that? Looks like an Andromeda kind of thing in the sky, like a man of war floating through the sky. There's all these new creatures. This is pretty neat. And then, or you may go through the 3 days, but it'll be 3 days of enlightenment, of beautiful things, some negative stuff that you haven't let go of. If you have certain things of vengeance or anger or people you've not forgiven and things you want, you feel that should be visited upon somebody else, you may go through some pretty rough stuff. But if that's your primary mode of being a vulgar, vengeful, angry, mean, or one of these people of Epstein stuff, you're going to have 3 days that are going to be like descending to the pit. And then it gets bad. Then you're on the Armageddon line. And you're going to have 14 years that you will have an opportunity to get out of there. While it's worse than Z Nation. The dead are out of the graves, walking around, beating on people. As Bob Dylan's song says, people will beg God to kill them. They won't be able to die. And we now know why that is, too, because of the jab and the nano in the jab. It can reanimate the people that are in the graves are still emitting Bluetooth signals 6 feet under. And they morticians take out the blood, let it dry out, on a slide glass or in a bottle and put it on a shelf for 2 years, add saline solution, put it back under a dark field microscope, and it has more nanotech in it. And it's grown more chips and put more technology in. It's
incredible.
Continuing to aggregate, artificial connection to the cloud. And so for those people, many people may know somebody who's already been inverted. So people that are in that dark mode of being, of angry and pissed off, and that's not a way to be, because it allows the targeted individual program was the beta test. This is the real thing now. Anybody in that mode, doesn't matter if you got it directly in the arm or not, you're around people, you get shed on. And you get shed on, and if you're in that mode, it will connect you to the cloud, and they can hack you. They can see your thoughts. They can invert your thoughts. What you had an argument with somebody, they'll come back and whatever they said is what you said, and what you said is what they said. No, you said that. You'll personally look at you, what? I can play a recording for you. I recorded it. That was you. Now you had AI change that. So, that's why, you can just forgive people because they're not them anymore. They're
Absolutely.
gone.
Yep. Because you're carrying, their all that anger and with you. Let it go. Let it go. Because otherwise you're going to get locked into that. And like you're talking about, when it's time to, 5D, you might get locked into all the zombies, and you don't want to be down with the zombies.
Well, not only that, but being in that negative frame allows them to hack into you with the cloud.
Yeah.
And, a local police station with their deep state in there, they can hack you, play with your brain, and put thoughts and ideas in your head. And I periodically catch myself, saying something the way I don't say it.
Yeah.
Or some thought that's in my head, or some song that, and I'm realizing what Colonel Bossy said about music, some song that I haven't thought or remembered hearing 20, 30 years. And I go, that song is disgusting. I didn't know that song was so disgusting. Yeah, like the recent one is, "Hey little girl, is your daddy home?
I know.
Are you home
Wow.
all alone? Hey, I'm on fire." It's, I'm paraphrasing it so we don't have to worry about things, but that's disgusting.
Yep.
And I'm going, wow. And I look at my music collection and I'm like, Black Sabbath. I'm not going to listen to that anymore.
I know. So many things like that. And so we have to clean all that out. And I think a lot of us are doing it. Now, that was interesting. You had all those past lives, you have memories of them. I try and tell people that, to go into past life discovery also frees you and unlocks capabilities that you have as well. So I appreciate you sharing those. And I've also had past lives with all those people you mentioned. So that's very good. Very interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's actually not something I just believe it. I proved it over and over and over.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, me too.
when I was in the Navy, every time the submarine would pull in, especially a fast attack, the SSBN's wives know when the ship's coming in to the moment you're flying in usually. Because like if you're in Pearl Harbor on an SSBN, you pick up the submarine, which switches Blue and Gold Cruise in Guam, and then you fly back. So they know when you're flying in, they're meeting you at the airport. Mm-hmm. So nothing is going to come. No one's going to come home. Surprise! I'm home, honey. Go out for 30 days. Nope, we're not out. The ship broke. We're back at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you come home and she's not alone. So every time the ship would come in on a fast attack, half the crews, 30% at the least, would be getting divorces. And I'd have guys that work for me, and they come back to the ship. I go, "You don't have duty. I can't get in the house. He's got the door locked." They changed the keys. I'm like, "Oh, no need to say. Go ahead and rack out. We got nice movies tonight. What do you want to see? I'll reel it." So that happened. So I decided I would never marry till I retired. And my fiance at the time, I had the sneaking suspicion she was there for, if I married her while I'm in, she gets half my retirement for life as long as she never marries again. And I'm like, even if we divorce. So that's not happening. I'll wait till we get out and she really loves me, then she'll marry me. And as soon as I got everything to Puerto Rico, I don't like you. I don't even like you anymore.
I don't even love you. I don't even like you. Because that's when I woke up. She goes, you can never stop talking about this stuff. I can, when I'm not around you or your family. She goes, I know you'll be thinking about it. I go, that's not fair. I don't care. It's like, so there was that. So, I had a Japanese girlfriend, and I flew from Scotland on my last SSBN, last submarine, all the way to Japan because I accrued so much leave. I had, massive amount of leave. And it's hard to take leave when you're on a ship with a high rank. They don't let you out. You're indispensable. We can't let you go. So you only get leave when you're first off crew or between one submarine and the next. So I flew from Scotland all the way to Japan, to Fukuoka, Japan. And we went down to the Thousand Island mountain that opened. And I had, in my studies with Miyamoto Musashi, when I was a samurai, I had gone to the top of that mountain with my katana, cut my kanji on the side of the oak tree that I had planted 50 years earlier, on the side that faced the ocean. So I said, let's go up to the top of that mountain. I think it has a great view of the islands. I go, there's a trail right here. And she goes, okay. So we get up there, and this oak tree now is huge. I mean, you can't even begin to put 3 people put their arms around this thing.
I had memories of it.
Go around the ocean side. Yeah, I go around on the ocean side and tell me what you see. Why? Because she knows she said, you're always so weird. She goes, why? I go, just tell me what you see. So she goes around, comes back. You can't even see her, so big. She comes back and she goes, it's just a kanji carved into the trunk of the tree. And what does it say? It's just a name. Okay, what kind of name? Because the names are like, in the old days, like a smith was a smith, a cooper was a barrel maker, that kind of thing. So your name was, she goes, it's a samurai name. Thought so. She goes, you're so weird, that's why. And then we went to Ephesus in Turkey, and we're taking a tour. And I had been in Ephesus several different lifetimes. And as you go in, and you make at the library a right turn, and the sidewalks are big, huge marble slabs. I go, when you get down to the end, if it's still there, I don't know if it's still there, of course, I've been here for a long time, but there's one slab, and it has a carving of a left foot with a money box over it, and then above that a hole. And at night they put a candle, and then it had a heart next to the money box. And what it means is if you got the money and you want some loving, the bordello's up on the left. As the sailors would come in from the sea. And all the people of the tour group look at me. And the tour guide's up in front of us a ways with 3 people talking. So we get down there, and he goes, this you might find really humorous and interesting. And they all look at me as he's explaining. Go, you were here. So we get back and we go to the library, and he goes, no one's been able to find something here, but there's a secret tunnel somewhere leaving this library, going to the bordello underground. I mean, whatever changes, right? I go, and they all look at me and wait for the guy to leave. He goes, you can all, do what you want now. The tour's over. And they all come, all these ladies come up to me. You know where it is? Of course. I was in the government. Of course I know where it is. It's where all the government scrolls were. So I go over, and there's a huge stone you have to roll aside. I said, and I roll this big stone aside, and I show them the tunnel. They go, yeah. And they go, so I've done that all over the world.
I've done that a few places too, but I'll have to dig deep on Ephesus because I was there recently too. And I had a few memories, but not as deep as that. They're really good. Good job.
Yeah, I actually remember past lives better than this one in my earlier life of this one.
But some of them are like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like my current wife in one of my lifetimes she had 9 daughters. I wasn't married to her. She was married to a general of mine. And they would cook these apricot liqueur cupcakes. And the Roman legion would come in, and they'd line up till they went over the hill behind going out of sight, out in the fields. Because, one cupcake, you get smashed. And I just love to watch them, enjoy themselves, eat the cupcake, and they're delicious, And so I asked my wife, "Do you remember that?" She goes, "I still remember the recipe."
Wow.
"You do?" "Yes." "Can you make it this year for Christmas?" She goes, "Yeah." So we gave a bit to all my neighbors. I gave, "Don't eat and drive." It's really alcoholic, but it's delicious. And she made a kind of a pelican for trail food for the military that lasted for years. I remember that, how she made that. That's how, when I go backpacks, make that stuff up, and it doesn't go bad. You don't have to have any kind of anything to take care of it. It just wrap it up and put it in your back, and it doesn't get moldy, doesn't get growth on it of any kind at all, and it's good for 100 years.
Wow. Yeah, I was in Monticello, and there's a garden out back, and I asked the person that was doing the tour, I said, "Did there used to be like these huge oak trees that surrounded this garden?" And she looked at me quizzically, and she said, "Why, yes, but they all died about 100 years ago from a blight." And I was like, "Oh, wow." So I remember them. I didn't say that, of course, but that's, you get memories like that, and they're kind of fun to get them, validated. So very cool.
I've had ones that, go back to ancient empires too. So I've had,
Wow.
If this is still here, I don't know if it is, but we're in the right place at the right time. Or not right time, the right place and the right location of the area of where a fortified wall was for the Hyperborean Empire here. And sure enough, it was a piece of it was still there. You could see the steps going up when we got there.
That is long.
So that's billions of years ago. That's a lifetime. And I remember being a Lemurian priest.
Yep.
And I remember why Atlantis fell. And
Atlantis, I was a scientist and worked with a crystal.
Oh, I remember the crystal. My wife was on that project.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. She wasn't my wife. I was a Lemurian priest and mostly just visited Atlantis. And so, it's just, really fascinating. People say, "Oh, there's no past life." You really think God only gives you one time, 100 years, and that's it? And if you mess up, you're done?
all the
Really? That's an infinite
life. It just kind of just happens. Yeah, come on. But yeah, that's fascinating. Gene.
Yeah,
I got another show coming up, so I gotta cut off here. But
Yes.
man, what a great conversation!
Absolutely,
it's worth the wait. So I don't know.
Yeah,
3 years seems like a long time, but wow, we just caught up more than ever before. So thanks so much. And people can reach you at Gene Decode. What is it? .org.
Yes. If you give me share screen, I can just show it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hold on, let me pull it up just a second. Okay. So share. You're sharing. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I put it up there, but
you shared. Never mind.
And you were going to share like a slideshow. What happened?
So that's how What's that?
I thought you were going to do a slideshow or something.
Again?
I thought you were going to do a slideshow.
Oh, I could do that if you have me back. No, I could do that if you have me back.
Yeah, well, as soon as we can. Yeah, we'll have to. We missed out on that. I just got so engrossed and enthralled with your stories. I totally forgot. So, yeah, we'll have to have you back and do your slideshow presentation. That'd be great.
And you'll make it more of have more of a conversation instead of me just rambling.
I felt like you had a pretty good conversation going on.
Because I love to hear what you have to say. When you're on with Colonel Bossy and all that, it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, those are great shows. Very, very good.
Hello?
Yeah, it sounds like we're getting a little disconnect.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Gene. And Thanks, everybody.
So anyway,
for joining us, and we'll see you guys.
thank you for having me on. It's an honor.